Yes, sir. Yeah. I'm giving an interview on the wealth generation gap. I don't mind the referee being on the field, but he shouldn't put his hands on the ball. And you probably heard that expression before, and that's really what's going on. A fan of George W. Bush, but he made a huge mistake when he bailed out those companies leaving, and then it got worse under President Obama, who thinks this bailout thing is a really great idea, and he did a whole bunch more of it. That's not the government's job. Once you set that tone at the top, whether it's set in an administration in the 1980s, which it sort of was under Reagan, or was set again in the 90s under Clinton, or was set again in the 2000s under Bush, under the auspices, I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but under the auspices of national security, or whether it was set again under some other auspices by Obama, once you start, it's the old camel's nose under the tent syndrome. Is if you let the camel get their nose under the tent, before long the entire camel's going to be there. And so that's what's happened with the government. They got started, they had a great idea, their regulation looked like it was going to do some good things, but then once they got started regulating, they couldn't stop. But these politicians are saying now that there aren't very many businesses surviving. In fact, we've gotten to the point where more are failing every year than are being created. That secondary consequence is going to be basically over a long enough period of time, and what long run is that crazy economic notion, but over a long enough period of time, maybe 3, 4, 5 years, you're going to see the generational wealth get even further apart, because those people who already have it are going to be reluctant to turn it loose, and those who haven't got it are not going to have access to it because there's no gain in it for them. And even if they could get their hands on it, there's no way to make it profitable. So the difference between I cannot bear to admit that I'm doing this, and I'll take a job doing anything, and you owe this to me, and I don't really give a crap whether I go to work, is something I really don't know where that went crazy. I don't know how that happened. I don't know at what point in my adult life we went from this is embarrassing to this is my right, but we did. What you have to do is you have to have a system where people doing what they're doing makes wealth happen. It's a byproduct of that work ethic, motivation kind of thing. When people have that, wealth gets created. They'll find ways to do it. And particularly in America, where you have the freedom to make those choices that allow you to do things that nobody ever thought of before, and make a lot of money doing it, you know. But when you end up with a system that says we're going to reward you for doing nothing, and then you say, if that system's not working, duh. We can't get anybody to leave that system. Really? What was your first clue? In 1975, the war in Vietnam ended. Things had changed in this country. There was a different attitude. People were positive. People were happy. People were just generally enthusiastic about where we were, where we were going, what the opportunities were that were out there. Yeah, we were sitting in lines in gas stations for hours to buy $10 worth, not $10, 10 gallons worth of gas because there was no fuel. There was an embargo and all that kind of business. It changed the whole model under which people were operating, but they were positive about it. When you got out of college, you know, you'd think, wow, man, what am I going to do? And if you got out and you went to work and finding a job, you found out there are all kinds of them out there. I believe that's true today. I just don't think people always think very clearly about what it is they want to start doing.
I will.
No, don't edit that. Put it up for class to see.